is this CM Punk thing real? As in, he's going to be matched up with a real MMA fighter when he hasn't done any MMA?
He will probably fight someone who's like 1-0, 0-1, 0-0. Is
that good
for the sport? Honestly, here's my take on it. It's interesting because it gets people to watch. It's interesting because it gets a guy who's a very high profile, very famous guy, and you put him in a situation where he's going to fight in the number one organization in the world. But should he be able to fight in the number one organization in the world in his first fight? Honestly, no.
Yeah.
He's in there because he's famous.
It's a little insulting to guys who work their way up to the UFC in a way. I mean,
kind of, but on the flip side, it's a lot of attention that's going to be shown to the UFC, and it'll up the profile. Star. He's a huge star. Yeah, and so he earned, I think, his right because of his celebrity status and the eyes he could bring to the sport. He earned his right to give it a shot.
I don't agree with that. And the reason I don't agree with that is because the UFC is a fighting organization where you go to see the most elite fighters in the world. And that's what made its name, and that's why you love watching it. Who's the toughest dude in the world? And so when you have someone like CM Punk who's now put in the octagon as a sideshow, you could say the same thing. If you're gonna put CM Punk, then let's get Brad Pitt in there, have him train and fight somebody else as well. There are a lot of actors that train, and there are a lot of high profile people that train that aren't anywhere close to professional fighters. Mm-hmm. And so for me, that's just how I feel about the octagon itself. It's just I just feel like, and I understand there's a marketing aspect to it, but I do think in many ways it is somehow, when you look at the UFC, you can say, well, it's entertainment. It's more than entertainment. In my opinion, it's a great sport at its peak, and that's how I feel about MMA. Because I think to be a good MMA fighter, and I've watched what Brendan puts himself through, it just takes everything, and that's why I think that area. And what makes the UFC and what makes MMA so special at that level is detracted from. And then maybe I'm being too much of a purist, and it's fine that he's fighting in there, but I don't know. I don't like it.
Well, it's different than Brock Lesnar because Brock Lesnar was NCAA Division I All-American, national champion, super fucking stud wrestler.
That's right.
Undeniable stud wrestler who they would have let him in the UFC if had zero experience in the WWE. But then he came over as a superstar already, like CM Punk, but way more dangerous.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
he did really well.
It's not even comparable.
Yeah. He's an elite athlete. I mean, he's a freak of nature. His fucking giant fire hydrant head and his, he's got a horse neck. I mean,
he's a horse neck.
He's a ridiculous human being. So he would have fought in the UFC no matter what. CM Punk, if you took a guy is he a white belt in jiu-jitsu? I think he's a white belt under Henner and Huron.
Brandon, you might know.
I mean, he's got a couple of stripes on his white belt.
He never wears a belt, so
I've seen him wear a white belt.
True. Well, he only puts on a white belt when he's at the academy because he doesn't train enough consistently. Like he trains when he's on the road or Henner will go to him. So technically we don't know what belt
maybe he's a blue
is.
belt.
Maybe he's a purple belt. Let's say he's a purple belt.
Has he had any striking?
He says he has a background in Kempo. That was his exact words.
Well,
he has a background in Kempo.
That's usually no good in something called the octagon.
Well, it's okay if you're fucking Stephen Wonderboy Thompson.
Sure, he's not.
If you're
when I hear people say I have a background in Kempo, that's like me saying I got a background in wrestling. I do. Yeah. I wrestled in high school and I was good. Mm-hmm. I got a background in high school wrestling. I'm good. I can pull a switch. Got a mean double and single if I'm wrestling a guy who's of my caliber.
Who sucks.
Yeah, I mean, come on.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what he's capable of doing. But the guy has the balls to get in there at his high profile status and fight on TV, on pay-per-view, or on Fox, or wherever the fight's going to be. It takes a lot of balls to do that, and he must have at least some understanding of what it takes. I mean, I don't know. I mean, he doesn't know what weight he's going to fight at. He doesn't know what camp he's going to train at. I asked him a few of those questions when I was interviewing him.
My advice was for him was not to announce so soon. Train, do a full camp without a fight, and see how you feel and see how you stack up with even just some lower level amateur guys, or even a guy with 1 or 2 fights.
Well, and then, also take a couple shots to the face.
And then take it from there.
Yeah, I don't know that some people know what it's like to get hit by a professional fighter in the face, even with headgear and a bar.
He also doesn't know what it's like the being in the circus of the UFC.
Right.
There's not going to be any amateur, it's like you're in the UFC now. When they tell you to fight, you're going to fight.
Well, I think they're going to give him an opponent with a commensurate amount of experience. I think the idea is they're going to treat him like an individual project.
So
They're not going to say, you're a UFC fighter now. I mean, Michael Bisping offered to fight him, which is kind of fucking hilarious.
Michael Bisping would
and
murder
rude.
him.
Yeah.
It's rude.
It's rude if Michael Bisping.
What is
but
he?
I think Michael Bisping was probably laughing about it. I'll fight him. Bring him over.
Yeah, well, there you go.
I mean,
he should fight. You know, it'd be
I think
a good
everyone
opponent.
wants to fight him.
You know, it'd be a great
Yeah.
opponent for him. Chris Angel. Chris Angel knows magic, and he does some kung fu. So let's get him to fight Chris Angel. I'll pay seriously good money for that.
It's
That
tough
I'll
for
fight.
me, man, because if he wasn't, in the Gracie family, I would probably roast the guy pretty.
You'd
pretty
be
rough.
opening your mouth a little more
But
right now.
I'm being cool because of Henry and Hero.
Yeah.
I mean, it'll be interesting. I just don't know. I don't think it belongs in the UFC. I think it belongs in celebrity fights.
It's entertainment, though.
Okay, but
We got a new pink elephant.
yeah, but pink elephants in the UFC have always been skilled fighters. Conor McGregor is a classic example of a guy who was a national champion.
You're talking
of
about a
boxing.
different pink. Now you're talking about a pink elephant with gold earrings. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
CM Punk. You can put Ronda, freaking your boy Connor, all them together, and CM Punk is more famous.
He's that big. He's that.
Yeah.
That's how
Fucking
out of
beast.
touch I am with
Yeah.
pop culture. I never watched professional
I don't even
wrestling.
like wrestling.
I don't even know
But
who
I know who
he is.
he is.
All right, let's see how many Twitter followers he has. That's a good indication.
CM
Okay, let's
Punk.
guess.
It's like one.
And I hear he's a great guy.
I'd say he's
right?
awesome.
He's
Awesome
a great
dude.
guy.
Awesome dude.
Yeah.
How many do you think
I don't
he
want-
has?
1.7 million.
1.7 million? Does he really have that
That's
many?
a lot of.
Or
that's a-
I'd say at least
2.3 million.
2.3 million Twitter.
So he
followers.
has almost a million more Twitter followers than me.
Jeez.
He has more. He's more followers than the entire UFC.
God.
So you sign him, he beats up Billy Badass, who just got off Kinko's with a 2-stripe white belt, and everyone's going to tune in.
Yeah.
You wouldn't sign him
I mean,
if you're Dana White?
I would have to have a conversation about what my brand is. I mean, yes, I know I would not. The answer is I would not sign him, and I don't agree with the decision. And I think if you're going for popularity, then you're losing sight of what people tune into the UFC for. in
Yeah,
my
but it's
opinion.
also like an eye opener. I mean, you take a guy like that and you throw him in there against a really good Muay Thai fighter, and he gets fucking head kicked.
Yeah, but I mean,
And you go,
it's
oh,
called murder.
This is the difference.
They're not going to
between-
do that. They're not going to do that because you want that guy to win.
Well, here's the deal.
To
You
create
want
the
that guy
following.
to win, but when you have zero fights, no real wrestling background, doesn't have a real
No background.
like competitive
No background.
wrestling background, doesn't have a competitive karate background, doesn't have a competitive boxing background.
not a good sign.
He doesn't have a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. He doesn't have, all these things are not there. So the reality is anyone who also has aspirations to be a professional MMA fighter, even a person who's 0-0, they might be able to do that to him. I know a lot of dudes who have zero professional fights, and you watch that motherfucker hit the pads. You watch some guy, to that bang, no professional fights. Got a whip for a kick,
Yeah.
vicious fucking left hook and a right hand.
Oh, my brother would beat up half the WWE right now.
I bet.
And he works for Microsoft.
Yeah.
He'd beat the shit out of half the WWE.
Yeah. Well, think about
Steroids
that.
and all.
Yeah, but now think about a guy who is an aspiring professional MMA fighter, which is what CM Punk's going
But
to fight.
how old is he? 36, 37?
36. Well, that was when, in his defense, that's how old Randy Couture was when he started
Randy
his
Couture
career.
was an Olympian.
The exception.
I mean, he was an
Randy Couture.
Olympian.
was a
We're
ridiculously
talking about
good
a
wrestler.
different beast.
Yeah.
Randy Couture was one of the best wrestlers, period.
Yeah.
And so
And he had a background of extreme competition. He boxed in the Army.
of course.
Yeah.
This
Well,
guy-
I play basketball every Sunday. Lakers, what's up? You know what I'm
Right.
saying?
It's true, and,
Yeah.
and that's I guess what I'm very surprised that CM Punk. I don't think he realizes. I really don't think he realizes what it's like to get punched properly, to use the English expression, to take a proper punch by a professional fighter.
Well, you know what it could be, too? It could be that he needs money.
Really?
He's got... Yeah.
I don't think it's that.
Well, it could be.
And I do
Here's
know
the
him
thing.
a little bit. I don't think it's that.
But this is what I say. By needs money, I don't mean like he's broke. What I mean is like he's got a lot of money coming in. He's used to this. He's working for the WWE. I'm sure he makes a couple $1 million a year or something. I don't know how much he's making. It's a lot of money. And when you start making a lot of money, you get
spend it.
used to having that kind of money in. And then you say, what are my options? Well, the UFC's willing to sign you. Let me think about this. You know what? Fuck, I'm going to fight in the UFC. And your girlfriend says, you could do it, baby. And the next thing you know, you're fucking rolling around with Henner and going for collar chokes and shit. And what are you going to do? I mean, who knows?
Gi Jiu-Jitsu is not the UFC, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, I mean, so I'm sure he does some no-gi.